So everybody's asking what's going on with fraud these days. What are the common types of investigations we're seeing? And we like to give an update about once a quarter of what our investigative agency is seeing in the marketplace for frauds and scams and even asset searches, hidden assets. To start with, we're seeing fraud starting to bump up again. Back in 2021, beginning of 22, there was a lot of fraud with cryptocurrency, digital currency, Bitcoin, where there was fake investments in these digital currencies that were offered, where people put in money, they were given returns on that money, and then when they went to take it out, they were told they can't take it out, or there's fees, or the person just disappeared. Those scams started to go away a little bit at the beginning of this year, the end of 22, beginning of 23, and they started to migrate to some other frauds, but there was a little bit of a quiet period. Now it's starting to bubble up again. We're seeing a lot more of these scams, these online frauds, so be very careful of these fake investments, these Ponzi schemes. Verify who you're sending money to. You can use our website, Active Intel, for resources on how to identify these scams. If you feel like you're a victim, what to do to find out if this is a real company you're sending money to or not. The other thing we're going to talk about is asset searching. Hidden assets is probably the fastest increasing type of scam we're seeing in our investigative agency. Hidden assets are part of almost every single litigation case that we're seeing. Divorce cases, probate cases, lawsuits, judgments, employment claims. Many times when somebody is involved with a litigation with another party, they fear that the other party is going to get some of their assets. If you lose a lawsuit, you have a judgment against you, the other side can take your assets. They can seize your bank account. They can seize your real estate, put liens, vehicle repossessions. So what the other party will do, even before the judgment is issued, is they will start to conceal assets. They'll start to move things around. They'll start to put things in other names. They'll start to open up hidden bank accounts. This is difficult because if you are a judgment creditor, you may find out that the assets you thought were there aren't visible. Doesn't mean they're not there. It just means the person put a little bit of a cloak over them to conceal them. That's part of what an asset search would do, to reveal those, or asset tracing to find out where they went. This is especially important in different family law cases. In cases of divorce, both parties are already fighting. They already hate each other. So family estates are now much bigger. It used to be 7, 8, 10 years ago, family had a couple $100,000 in assets. That was a lot of money. Now we're seeing many families have $1 million in assets. You have a 401k, you have bank accounts, you have home equity, you have all these things. So if one of the parties feels like, I want a little more than my fair share, so I'm going to take this $100,000 and hide it. By hiding $100,000, you just put an extra 50 grand in your pocket, because most community assets are split in half. So if a party in a divorce hides $100,000 or $80,000, they're putting tens of thousands of dollars in their pocket if it's not discovered. If an asset search does not find that asset, it's free money. And in every case we've looked at for a divorce case, there's always something that's concealed. Now, you may think that in a divorce, you have to file a financial disclosure, and you do. Both parties have to fill out a financial disclosure, laying out all the assets that they have. However, many times those are fudged. They're not completed properly. In fact, many attorneys will even tell their client, don't worry about that financial disclosure. No one's going to verify it. Even if you get caught, it'll be a slap on the wrist, which is kind of true. So you want to not take the word of that other person. Think about it. The reason you're probably getting divorced is because you took their word for something that they lied about, right? Or untrustworthy. So don't take their word on the financial assets, because that's going to take money out of your pocket. And even if it seems like a small amount, if somebody steals, $50,000, hides it, that's $25,000 out of your pocket. If somebody handed you $25,000 in $100 bills right now, would you have a use for it? Sure you would. So make sure you're not letting the other person get away with it. Now, another type of a family law case that you might not think has fraud, but it's huge, is probate fraud. This is where somebody dies in a family and the money's supposed to be distributed to various family members, children, grandchildren, siblings, whatever. And when that person dies, one or more of the parties wants more than their fair share. Again, broken record. So they might take, some money out of a bank account and hide it somewhere. They might take a vehicle that was hidden in a barn and then they move it to a storage lot. They might even take a piece of land or a piece of real estate and quitclaim deed the property to somebody else till they hide it. It's a way to get more than your fair share in a death scenario with a relative, and it's more insidious because when two people are fighting in a divorce, they already hate each other. What do they have to lose if they're doing something bad to that person? With a probate case, these people are presumably family members, and they have to see each other on Christmas and Thanksgiving and family reunions, and they're stealing money from people that they are to their face pretending that they're friends with. They might even be babysitting for you, and they're stealing your money. So probate cases are huge in terms of hidden assets. Sometimes the executor of the estate is in on it. Sometimes even attorneys are in on it. So be aware that these probate cases have many, many hidden assets. We're seeing that big time. How do you find hidden assets? Well, it is a process of doing research of documents, hundreds or thousands of documents to find hidden bank accounts, to find hidden real estate, to find real estate that's been transferred, to find vehicles that maybe are titled in somebody else's name. It's a like a needle in a haystack. You go through hundreds of documents. We have files here with this thick with documents that we go through, electronic records, paper records, digital records, official government records to find all these assets. Look, assets don't just disappear. The records exist somewhere. You just have to go through them all, and it's mostly labor. It's not a matter of just pushing a button and paying some money and the assets come forward. It's a matter of investigators going through detailed records and finding that, like I said, needle in a haystack. And again, every time a person has a suspicion of assets being hidden, we almost always find them. It's almost never the case that somebody says, I think assets are being hidden, and they're not right. Trust your gut. The last thing we're going to talk about is corporate crime. If you're a business owner or a business manager, there are dozens and dozens of different ways that crime can happen in your company and you can lose money. And it's not just somebody shoplifting. It's not just somebody, coming in with a stick up and stealing money from the cash register. Most of the crimes that happen in a business are either employee or vendor related or cyber crime. There are ways that people can convince a business owner using social engineering to transfer money. They'll call you up and say, look, this is, your vendor, your company that you get your buy your materials from. We have a new account, so wire the money for your payment to this new account. In fact, it's a scammer. They found out who your vendor is. They find out who the name of the person you deal with is, and they call you up and they give you different wiring instructions, and you wire the money because you didn't verify it. It happens more than you think. Now, don't believe that you wouldn't be a victim of social engineering. The people who do this are very, very clever. They, for a living, know how to convince people of things. They know how to take mistrust and turn it into trust. They know your objections in advance. They know what questions you're going to ask in advance. And they also know what's going to make you suspicious in advance, and they alleviate that. It's like a magic trick, like a Jedi mind trick. They know how to keep you from finding this out. How do we know? We talk to dozens of people every week that have had this happen to them, and they're smart people. They're attorneys, they're accountants, they're CEOs that have had this happen. So be aware of it. Make sure you have good cyber crime or crime policy insurance on your insurance coverage, but also be aware that social engineering can make an employee do something that maybe they shouldn't absolutely do. And embezzlement is widespread. Sometimes it's employee driven, sometimes it's outsiders, sometimes it's just a scammer in some other country. Those are the most common things we are seeing in the investigative division of our business. We also have a division for insurance. You'll see that link below, riskcoverage.com, if you have insurance needs. But the basic thing is to prevent these losses from happening, because even if you have insurance and you have a claim, your insurance might pay part of it, but you're going to have a deductible, and those deductibles can add up quick, and you don't want to pay those or go through the hassle of having to file those claims if you can avoid it. Assets Hidden assets are a big deal. Online fraud is a big deal. Don't send money unless you can verify the true identity of a person and their physical address. Don't send money to fake Instagram investments. And also be aware of social engineering to get you to spend money on something that maybe isn't the actual provider of that service.